like me to start?
Okay, sorry. Yeah, we can just start over. Thank you. Over to you.
Yeah, so as I said earlier, my name is Amy, and thank you so much, Tanya, for that introduction. I am an alumni from the class of 2020 from African Leadership Academy, and it is my deepest honor to be here and to just share with you guys what the Build approach is all about. If we can, let's just put in our names and where we're from, the university you're from as well. I can see Michelle guys from JCUT. I'm originally from Nairobi, Kenya. I was in South Africa at the African Leadership Academy for 2 years. And yeah, that's a little bit about myself. I think we'll progress on more of what I've accomplished at ALA. It's a short form for African Leadership Academy, which is what I'll be referring to a lot. So if you just hear ALA, it's African Leadership Academy. So with that being said, let me just jump straight into our agenda for today. Allow me to share my slides. One second. Could I please just get a few thumbs up if you can see my slides? Just anyone who could unmute could unmute.
Yes, we can see them.
Yes, I can see it.
Thank you. Yeah, so today we'll be diving into igniting youth entrepreneurship in Africa with a specific the Build approach. And yeah, there's a lot that we're going to be speaking about. And I also don't want this to just be a session where I'm going to talk, so it's going to be more interactive. I'd really appreciate if people could engage with me. There are a few activities that I'd like us to do. So yeah, just be ready to engage and like answer a few questions and share a few thoughts. Yeah, so what we're going to be going through today is I'm going to explain what Build is and where it originally came from. What does it stand for? Because it is an abbreviation for something, and how to apply all the components of the Build model. And I'm going to later speak about the African Leadership Academy and Zisha Prize and the AL for Health sector. And then lastly, we're going to have a question and answer time where I'm just going to open up the floor to anyone who has any questions or clarification. Yeah, so what is Build? The Build model is The Build model is an entrepreneurship leadership tool, which is a human-centered approach to entrepreneurial thinking. And it's used to develop innovations and that address the root cause of problems. So it's a human-centered way of addressing problems, and it's a way where you target the root causes of problems and address it with innovative and sustainable solutions. And the Build model stands for believe, understand, invent, listen, and deliver. So I'm just going to run through what the 5 components entail. And as I said, we'll have a few activities in between. So the first one is believe. Before you start any business, the first thing you need to do is believe in yourself and what you can do, right? So believe power within. You need to believe that as a young leader, as a young African leader, you have the skills and the capacity to make something and solve the problems that we currently have on our continent. And entrepreneurs must really believe that they have the power and the mindset to really change and bring continuous improvement. And it's not just about bringing solutions to challenges you've identified, but really solving the root cause for the problems you have identified. And the next thing, you need to accept that you're going to fail. I mean, throughout my entrepreneurial journey, I have faced a lot of challenges and a lot of problems. And you need to have a mindset that, yes, these problems are going to come, but you need to be resilient and really bounce back from those challenges. You need to understand that they will happen. I don't think I've ever heard of an entrepreneurial journey that has been a star all through and has had no challenges. So there are definitely moments of failure that you need to accept. And the last thing, you need to do a SWOT analysis, the SWOT analysis. This is an acronym to just find out, what are your strengths? What are you good at? What are you most likely to do best at? And what are your weaknesses? What are some of the challenges you've identified within yourself? What are some of the opportunities you see out there in the health sector, in your communities around? What are some of the threats that are also outside of your control? I mean, there's only so much you could do as well, depending on the environment that you are based in, right? And you really need to do this analysis to understand yourself and the environment around you for you to start anything. So just as a small activity, just write down a dream or identified, or I believe this and that. So just a few sentences, it doesn't have to be a lot, or you could just write one. There's no issue with that. And yeah.
Hello, Amy.
Second, sorry, can you see my slides? My
Yes.
screen just went blank. Are you still able to see?
Yes, maybe you can stop sharing the video to save on bandwidth if it's okay.
Okay. Yeah. Let me do that. Yeah, so hopefully everyone can still see my slides. So the second part of build is understand. And in understand, we dive deeper into the problem. And so this is now where we look at, in the communities that we are currently in the different countries that we are currently in, what are some of the challenges that you have seen that really frustrate you or motivate you to change? What are some of the needs that you see from, it could be in your school, it could be generally in the environment you're in, it could be in your country. But really, what is something that is in line with your passions and your skill set that you have identified and believe that you would want to see a change or solve? So this is the problem identification bit. And how we normally do the problem identification bit through this model is, a lot of people have done surveys in the past, questionnaires, and mostly observations. So this, something I forgot to mention, the build model is also something that happens over time. So even as I explain this, the whole concept to you, this is not just something that you do once. It's a process, which means that you will have to go back and really assess the whole model based on your environment. So it's not just something that happens in an hour. It definitely will take a long time. And this is just a guide on what you could do to face the problems that you have in your community and in your environment. And so what are some of the qualitative or quantitative methods you could use to get data around the challenges that you can possibly see. So this could be through observation. Let's say you have observed like a problem in your community with water. Are you able to do a survey with the people around that community and find out what really is the problem here? Are you able to send out questionnaires online? We live in a very digital world. This is one of the quickest ways to get information, to just have a proper understanding of what this problem really is about. And the last thing is to really find the root cause analysis. So an example I have, during my last build camp, we were able to speak to a few students who identified that in high schools between the ages of students between 15 and 19, there have been an increased number of depression cases. And the school approached this problem by directly employing someone who could come in and be a counselor. So having a counselor who students could go to and just speak to about the problems. But then they realized this counselor is not being used. Like the counselor would just sit in the school, no one would come for help, no one would come and approach them. And the students realized, like, yes, there was a problem that the school solved, but it didn't solve the root cause. And the students did more research to find out why is it that the students are not going to the counselors. I mean, this is one of the methods that has been identified could help solve this situation, but then it doesn't. And that's why it's really important to do a lot of research to go into the fine details of what exactly is causing this problem. And one way we do this is to filter down the problem and really ask the 5 whys. Like, this is the first problem. Why does this problem happen? And then from that answer, you go to the second why. Why, again, does this problem happen? And like that until you really get to the root cause of what is really causing this issue, right? And then, so I'd like everyone to create a bug list of about 5 things that really frustrate them and annoy them in your community, and just write them down individually. Let me ask Daniel if we could separate everyone in groups of 3, and groups of 3 to 5 to just put them in a breakout room to just have a discussion on some of the challenges that you have identified in your community. And I'd like you to really filter down to 3 problems that you think are worth addressing, and just have a discussion in your breakout rooms and just allow everybody to share, and just also share why you really think this is a major problem. And then we're going to come back here after 5 minutes. I hope that will be enough time. Daniel, are you able to do this?
Yes. Let me just do it right now. So guys, we'll just assign automatically, so we can just proceed and join the groups. Thank you. And let's just discuss. I've shared the question also in the group, so you can just check there.
Yeah, just everyone, if you could click join.
Amy, maybe, and Anastasia. Anastasia is my co-coordinator. She's here. Now you can just go through the different rooms and just see how the people are engaging. I hope you're able to join the different rooms.
I can access that. Thank you. For the people here, just in case you missed it, we're joining breakout rooms to talk about some of the challenges and issues that we face in our community's environment around. So just click join. If you have any issues, please let me know. Okay, so I think the 5 minutes are over and everyone should be back in the main session. I had the opportunity to join two breakout rooms, and I'm really interested in what the discussion some of you had. I think if anyone would be willing and open to just share maybe a problem they personally identified or a problem someone in the group identified, that would be great. Just could be one person, could be two. Kindly feel free to unmute and speak.
Okay. Can I speak?
Yes, please go ahead. Please tell us your name and where you're from.
Okay, thank you, Amy. My name is Abdul Ghaffar Ahmed, student of Medical Laboratory Science, Danford University, Nigeria. I happen to fall into break room of 3, and we're just 2 of all there. So within the little time, we're able to discuss some of the problems. I gave my own, and he as well gave his own. And there are solo one, there is lack of knowledge. It's a kind of community where people don't have the enough knowledge of everything you can just think of. Like there's that illiteracy, like there's no proper understanding of how things work, how just a kind of lack of knowledge, ignorance as well. I don't want to waste time. Ignorance, you see, apart from not having the adequate knowledge about their community, about everything that is going on in society, they are still not ready to learn from others who happen to have the enough knowledge. Also, talk of lack of belief in the young people. You see, the community now, they fail to have that kind of belief in what the youth and the growing ups can do. So it's placing a kind of huge problem as to what individual has in mind as innovation to put out, because these people are not ready to support, they don't believe in them. So this is a very great problem that if we can find a way to cope, it will be of great advantage to our society. Also, it is made mention of feeling of superiority within the society. They feel like this kind of people were the highest, like in position in the society, and that plays a kind of pressure on those that were inferior as they think of it. So there is no kind of proper, what do we call it, cooperation within them, because they feel we are the owner of the community, we are this, we are that, as what it is shared. Also, he shared lack of cooperation, that there is no cooperation in the society. We fail to support one another, being that if somebody should bring an innovative idea, you feel like, no, why should it be you? Why not me? You get that kind of thing. So it's facing a huge problem as to its society. Also, the sanitation, which plays an effect on the general health of the individual. In a society where there's no sanitation, the people are prone to diseases, they are prone to different kinds of infections that we hinder the development. So you get development in terms of political development, human development, and any form of development that we can think of. So that will be all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. From my understanding, you've spoken about just the issue of young voices being shut down by a lot of superior figures in society and not really having spaces for young people to really speak up. And also you mentioned something about sanitation. I wasn't able to cut that really well, but yeah, thank you for sharing. We'll dive deeper into those problems. I see Idris' hand is up. Also, just if you can be as short as possible, because time is really not on our side, but go ahead, Idris. Idris, can you hear me?
Okay, hello, am I audible?
Yes, now I can hear you.
Okay. So basically in my group, we were 4 in numbers, and most of my group members did not have much problems in the society. So they listed just one thing. So let me start with the first person. She mentioned 3 things, actually. She mentioned that one of the first problem was food, because he said in our environment, like food is really expensive, and that's like the major problem. Food is like the basic thing for humans. Second one was water. Yeah, water. She mentioned water, and it was difficult to access like water. You need to like go and fetch and all that. The third was inequality, gender inequality. He said it's prevalent in her society, and it's a terrible thing. And the fourth one was education. Like it's not really like available to everyone. So she feels like those 4 things needs to be changed in our society. So another member mentioned, it was, try to remember the name, it was Phoebe. Yeah, she mentioned just one problem. For her, it was water. That in our school, you need to like travel distances to go and get water. It's difficult to access water. So that's a problem. And the next person was Thomas in my group. So he said that his own major problem was, I can't remember what he said. I remember. But as for me, there was not sufficient time to talk. So, I did not see anything, unfortunately. That's it on my end.
Okay, thank you, Idris. I think all of us here can definitely agree food and water are quite major problems in a lot of our countries. And I think as we dive into more problems, we'll definitely get to see what is really causing some of these challenges. I see there are more hands up. I would really like for you guys to speak, but there's still a lot more we have to cover. So let me just hold those hands and let me go through a few things that I'd want to go through, and then I'll give you an opportunity to speak. Thank you everyone for sharing. Let me share my screen. Yeah, so again, from the problems that we've had, we really got to identify, and what I like and what I've liked hearing is just the challenges that are really facing people in the communities, like what you just shared about someone who's identified a challenge in their school where it takes them like long distances to just fetch water. That's a problem that is around you that you could potentially solve. And what I just want to emphasize now is we're going to filter down to these problems to come up with a final problem that we'd all like to focus on. And how we're going to filter down to this problem is asking these 3 big questions. So you have your first problem, your second problem, your third problem. It's okay if you have only one problem that you've identified, that is totally fine. And the questions you'd ideally want to ask yourself, is this problem big enough? And do you care enough to potentially solve this challenge? And does the world need you to do this, right? This is going back to the threats around you. What is outside of your control that you feel that will really hinder you from solving this problem? And once you really get to answer these 3 questions, just come up with your final problem. And one way I'd really like us to write down this final problem is through this problem statement. And this, in a very simplified form, is who is this problem facing? And an example I could give you from the early example I had said with the high school students, you need to really specify who exactly this problem is facing. If you could write it down, that would be great. So in brackets for your first part, who is really affected by these problems? Is it teenagers? Is it the youth? Is it the middle age? Is it old people? What are their ages, or what social economic background do they come from? You really need to specify who exactly is being faced by this problem. And then who needs what? So the what is now saying the challenge, like what specifically is the challenge that you've identified. So for example, in the case where he spoke about water, the what would be the water situation and the long distances that people have to travel to just get water. So that's the what. You really need to describe what exactly is this problem. And in order to do what, like, why is this a problem? What is really causing this problem? And the why really needs to target the root cause, which is why I had mentioned earlier that you really need to do an analysis of why this problem occurs and following up with why until you get to the root cause of this problem. So who needs what in order to why? That is the first problem statement. Okay, so moving on, we'll be jumping into invent. This, for me, is the most exciting part of the build process. This is just where we get to brainstorm on the solutions that we have for the problems that we have identified. So you've gone into your communities and environments around you, and you've seen the problems that are being faced, and you really need to find a solution to solve the root cause, to just stop these problems from reoccurring. Because you wouldn't want to approach a problem that you could potentially solve, but the solution only works for a few weeks or a few months. You'd want to also solve sustainable solutions. And this is the part where we dive into that. And so for invent, it's just an opportunity to brainstorm multiple ideas. So at first, don't think too much about the solution. Write down, even on a sticky note or just a piece of paper, and defer complete judgment of the solutions you're coming up with. Yes, to you, it might not sound like it is the right solution, but the whole point of writing down several solutions is you could find that there are different solutions written down that can be compiled into one big solution. So that is the importance of writing down several ideas and really go for volume. Like, write as many as you can. Be visual in terms of how will the solution look like, and is it something that can actually be invented, and stay on topic of your problem. You don't want to just you don't want to come up with a solution that doesn't address the problem that you're trying to solve, right? And encourage wild ideas as well. It could be something that you haven't seen being done yet, but if you really can see it and visualize it properly, write it down. And so you also need to think about, in terms of the solution you're trying to come up with, is this a service or a product? What will this pilot or prototype look like? When you're trying to figure out what exactly I'd want this solution to encompass, how will the prototype look like? And a prototype essentially is just like a demo of like how the solution would be, because before you invent it, if it's like a machine, before you properly invest into it, you need a prototype that can explain what exactly this machine is going to do. Or if it's an app, anything you'd want to come up with, you really need to decide if it's a prototype and how it will look like. And be specific as possible. As I said, when you're analyzing the problem, you need to address the root cause. And that means you need to be specific with your solution as well. Your solution can't be something broad, because you're trying to address a specific problem. There's so many things that have been done out here, but we've all seen that some of these solutions don't last, because sometimes the solutions don't solve a specific problem, and that's why you need a specific solution. So just jump back into our breakout rooms. I don't know if you can go back to the exact same groups, but even if you do end up in a different group, it's fine. Just brainstorm ideas on what you believe could solve the final problem that you have identified. And please keep in mind of the problem that you had first discussed and the root cause of that problem for you to come up with a solution that could potentially solve the challenge you've identified. So Daniel, could you please make the breakout rooms again?
Yes, sure. So guys, we can just try to be spot on so that we don't take so much time. So immediately you join, just introduce yourself and let's get down to business. Yeah. So we can join now. Hello? 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 Hello?
Okay, I believe everyone should be back by now. Thank you again for engaging with this activity. I hope you had some enriching conversations with your group members. But yeah, I had the opportunity to join 2 breakout rooms, and I've had some really interesting solutions. I know I was with Florence, and please remind me your name. I don't remember her second name, but they were talking about like garbage and the whole issue on waste. And something that really stood out, which is something I wanted to emphasize, is they realized like, yes, the issue of garbage and waste and just the recycling process have been there. And they're starting, yes, thank you. I hope I haven't mispronounced your name. But yeah, so they identified that there's the issue of garbage, and there's certain systems that the government has put in place to help people recycle more, to avoid the amount of waste that we have. There are certain countries that have banned the use of polythene bags, but then you still find that there are people who sell polythene bags like on the low, and that is still a problem. But then the solution could be coming up with a new system to eradicate this issue. But then there's certain solutions that have been implemented and are not working. And something I challenged them to think about was what exactly in these solutions that have implemented can be changed to really address these issues. Like there's bins that have been provided to separate paper from plastics and from glass, but you'd still find people putting paper in the plastics. So like, how would you address this issue, right? Because yes, the government has done what they can in providing the bins, but people are still not following what they need to do. So is it an education point of view that you need to address it from? Is it an awareness point of view? Is it a moral issue that people have to not follow what is currently being implemented? So I really enjoyed that conversation and just hearing what they had to say about that and their issues. And also just want to hear from a few more groups, if you could just unmute and speak about some of the solutions, just briefly address the problem and the solution that you came up with. There were 2 hands from before. I don't know if you guys still want to speak, but feel free to unmute. Yes, Jennifer, go ahead.
Okay, my name is Jennifer Nantongo from Uganda. One of the problems we identified is education is still low. And one of the suggestions that we had, especially for rural areas, we chose to have mentors. So we decided, so we thought of maybe creating a day where we talk to the community leaders to invite different people in the community, the parents, the children, and this meeting could be funded, and we have logistics, drinks, and some snacks to attract people to come to the meeting. And then also prior to the meeting, we thought of maybe we could write letters inviting the mentors. This could be women who have been educated and have really made it in life. So these the women come and talk to their parents and inspire them to educate their children by sharing their stories. So yeah, that's the problem, and yeah, the solution we came up with.
Okay, Jennifer, thank you for sharing that. I saw one more hand. Is there anyone else who would like to share their problem and their solution? Okay, if there's none, allow me to continue, but thank you, Jennifer, and the group who had that conversation.
Amy?
Yes?
I think Abdul Ghaffar was trying to speak. Wait, Abdul Ghaffar.
Yeah, I would love to speak, but I think there is a kind of little background noises from here. That's why I decided to lower my hand. But if time permits, I can just submit it in the chat box.
I can't quite hear you well. I'm not sure if it's on my side.
Okay, I said there is a kind of little background noises from here. That's why I can't speak up. So I would like to submit it in the chat box.
Oh, okay.
Can you
Okay.
hear me?
That works. Thank you. Let me just go ahead. Please feel free to type them in the chat. I know we'll have time, and I'll read them out. But yeah, just allow me to continue. Yeah, so moving on to solutions narrowing, this is where from the ideas that you have heard and from the ideas that you probably wrote down, if there were more than one, really look at those ideas and think, does this idea address the root cause of the problem? Who will benefit from this idea? And this is just about being specific, like who exactly, what are the age ranges, what are the background, who will really benefit from the idea? How will they benefit from this idea? Are there other similar ideas out there? And this goes back to the problem I was trying to address with the garbage. There's so many different people who've tried to eradicate different problems on the continent, right? But what exactly in the idea is not working, and what can you learn from that and implement something that could potentially work over time and a sustainable idea that could also last? Because there are also a lot of similar ideas out there, but they're not working. So we really need to find out and do the research on what are the similar ideas and what makes yours different. Can different ideas be combined to create a single idea? This can be a compilation of what currently exists and what you'd want to invent. Can this be combined into one idea? What makes this idea different or better from what currently exists? And this goes back to the similar ideas. What makes your idea stand out from what is existing currently? Will you be able to execute this idea with the threats around you, with the challenges that you could possibly identify? Is it something feasible and doable? And will you be able to make money from this idea? So there's no requirement to make money in this idea, but you definitely need something that can sustain your idea. You need some financial support. And would this mean that you need to start a for-profit organization or a non-profit organization? How will you raise the fund to make sure that your idea is going and is running? So yeah, just think about these questions when you're narrowing your solutions. And yeah, there's also the solution statement. This is similar to what we had drafted before with the problem statement. And when you're writing down your idea and your solution, it's best to really put it in one statement. So I will do what? What exactly is this idea? Are you going to build an app? Are you going to start an organization? Are you going to educate? Are you going to do something? Like, what is that exactly that you want to do? And that is what you fill in there. And then I will do what for whom? This is the person. Who is your target person? Who's your target market? Who is the person that you really want to be impacted by your solution? So that is the user, and that is what you're supposed to fill in for that. So I will do what for whom, because why? So why is where you state the problem. So you will build an app for these type of people because you'd like to solve this problem. So this is just a solution statement to guide you on what you'd want to develop. And yeah, just try fill it in these three forms. It's not set in stone that you have to use this exact form. It's just a guide. And then moving on, we have the business model canvas. So ideally, you'd want to build a business around this, right? And a business model canvas is supposed to help you really map out what your idea looks like and what exactly you're trying to solve with this idea. So the first thing you'd want to do is, as we spoke about, the need that you've identified, the challenge, the problem you identified, and create that problem statement. So when you're building a business model canvas, that is the first thing you need to write down. And then secondly is your client, customers, or basically your target. Who will use your product or service? So this is about being specific on who will be using this product or service. Will it be everyone or a certain type of person? Specificity. Define them using age, gender, occupation, education, social class, location, etc. You can choose one category, you can choose all of them if you can, but this is really just about being specific on your target people. The third one is the big idea. What is this big solution that you have come up with and you'd like to see? Does it address social issues? As I said, Build is a human-centered model, supposed to solve human problems, right? Then we have activities. What exactly is your business going to involve? What are the different steps that you need to take in order to produce a service? How do you need to start this thing? How can you get it on ground? What are some of the steps that you see taking along the way? And what do activities start and when do activities end? So you need to really have a time frame as well. You need to write down when you see yourself actualizing this idea. And the fifth thing is resources. What does your project need to be able to operate? What resources do you personally need to operate? This could be in terms of what is the help that you could possibly get. Can you speak to professionals around you? These are some of the resources you want to look at. And what resources do you currently have within your team or within yourself? If this is something you want to start alone, what are some of the resources you feel like you have that could potentially help you to start this business? And the sixth thing is the partners. What are your key partners? Who are people you could partner with that could help you along this journey? And I think even looking at businesses like Bolt, like we all know Bolt or Uber, these are companies that don't own these cars. And what they've done is they've partnered with drivers who own cars. And those are some of the partners you'd like to look at. What type of suppliers do you need? Who are your suppliers? What key activities do they perform? You need to really write down what exactly each partner is doing and what are the motivation for your partnerships. Why do you really need to partner up with these people? Seventh is costs and revenue. I know in this day and age, a lot of things are not free. So what are the startup costs of this project? How much would it really cost you to get this thing running and going? How much is really going to be spent on activities? Is a project dependent on funding, or will you be making money from it? So this goes back to being a full profit or a non-profit organization. Who can you get to fund your project? Or if this is something you potentially see yourself making money, how are you going to be making this money? And then the eighth thing and the last one is impact. This is probably the most important of it all. What will make this project successful and how will your project impact your community? So at the end of the day, you're really trying to make a change and bring something that will benefit the community around you. Because if it doesn't, then what is the point of it, right? So you really need to look at the impact that you're trying to create. And how will you know that your project is making a difference? Can you come up with a 5-year plan? And how will you be accountable in terms of how your project is growing? And how can you look back at what you currently created and what more could you do to increase that impact? So this is the business model canvas. You could also look it up online. I also don't mind sharing this if anyone just needs to refer back to it. But yeah, moving on is the fourth thing, which is listen. This is also one of the most important parts of the model. And this is really just listening to the environment around you. So it involves a lot of feedback, and you really need to reach out to your target audience before you launch something. You need to find out if this is a solution that will work for the people that you have planned for it to work for. So you need to go out there and gain feedback. If it's surveys you need to send out, if it's making a prototype that you could talk to people about and just get their feedback on what they think. And you never know, you could find different people sharing ways to improve your solution, which could make it even better. You could find like something you did not think about that you could consider and could potentially improve your solution. And then take notes on the gaps identified and ways to possibly improve your idea. So throughout this process, you could identify some gaps that you missed out on, and some of the things that you could deeply think about even more. And those are some of the things that you need to write down to help improve your idea. And so given what you hear from other people through this process, how will you modify your initial solution? So this is not an activity that we're going to do now, but from the feedback you receive from people, can you write down some of the changes you could make and what you could do to add to your solution? And then the last bit is deliver. Deliver is where now you present your solution and your idea. This is in front of, let's say, you'd like to pitch this idea to someone who potentially could invest in your project. You really need to remember that when you're pitching, these are some of the steps that you could keep in mind as you're speaking about your idea. Could be to your friend, could be to family, could be to, someone who could potentially actually fund your idea, right? You need to keep it short, you need to keep it succinct. Be sure to give just enough information. Sometimes you can get carried away with like a lot of information that you miss out on really what needs to be heard. So that is why it's very important to keep it short. And a way that can help you keep this short is through the problem statements and the solution statements and through the business model canvas. I believe if you really present your problem statement, your solution statement, and explain in detail your business model canvas, this is one way to really communicate effectively on what you'd want to present. And then have a hook. And as Mel Pichersky advises, the objective of the first 10 to 15 seconds is to have your prospective investors want to listen to the next 45 or 50 seconds differently. So listen to it more intently than you have, because you really want people to pay attention to what you're saying, and you don't want to lose people in the first 5 or 10 minutes. So you need to have a hook and something that will capture people's attention. Don't overwhelm with technical or statistical terminology. You don't need to use big words or big terminologies. Just be very straightforward with simple English and English that people can understand, or any language that you think can convey what you're trying to speak about. And then practice, rehearse your pitch, especially if this is a presentation you're making for, let's say you're in a competition and you're trying to communicate your ideas. You'd really want to rehearse and know what exactly you'd want to let your audience know about. This also helps you in terms of keeping it short and within the time range you probably could be given. And then listen. When you're talking and once you're done presenting, you really need to listen to your feedback. This helps building strong networks. You never know how much people could help you in terms of improving this idea. And it's really, really important to listen as much as it is to talk. So as I said before, you need to listen to other people. And yeah, that comes to the end of the build approach. I hope you've all learned something that you could take out from this session. And I hope it's also a model that you could use later on and not just today. And it's also a model that could help you come up with solutions in various sectors, because as the years progress, several challenges do come up. And it's definitely a good model to help you start something you'd possibly want to solve. So yeah, thank you for engaging with me. I'm just going to talk about the African Leadership Academy, which is where I graduated from, and the Anzisha Prize. Yeah, so about ALA, it is located in Johannesburg, South Africa. It's a 2-year diploma program that aims to develop Africa's next generation of leaders who are ethical, entrepreneurial. And this program is targeted towards young leaders between 15 to 18, and they have accepted students from 46 African countries since founding in 2008. I love that this session is full of people from different countries across the continent, because this is ideally the environment at ALA. Like just in these pictures, this was during my graduation. There's 6 nationalities represented here. Like there's people from Tunisia, from Sierra Leone, from Kenya, from Sudan, from Nigeria. So it's an environment that tries to bring in African leaders from across the continent to just share in this entrepreneurial and African journey, where you just learn more about your roots, you learn more about the problems that are being faced in your communities and in different countries as well. I had a very good experience at ALA. I definitely made lifelong friendships with people that I don't think I would have ever met anywhere if I did not go to South Africa. I'd also like to highlight that they do give off really good scholarships and financial aid. So if you do know anyone who's between the ages of 15 and 18, definitely recommend ALA to them. It has people from different socioeconomic backgrounds, and you really get amazed by the amount of conversations you have, because it's an environment where you really speak to people from different backgrounds, people who faced a lot from their countries, and they have a lot to say in terms of the solutions they'd even like to see in the future. And in the bigger picture, ALA connects you to a network, which is now the 6 sectors of the network. There's health, there's education, there's governance, and there's the arts. I think there are 4, sorry. And through these sectors, you're able to just be connected by previous ALA alumni or just people across the continent who offer internships and opportunities for students from ALA and also youth around these ages to just get some experience before really entering the job market. And it's a good opportunity because being from ALA, you directly have access to that. And I've been able to benefit from that, getting internships with the AL for Health Network, which is where I met Daniel, actually. That was an internship I got through the network. I was able to just talk about the building a box and really network with people in the health sector. So yeah, that's just ALA in a nutshell. They have a website, online, social media pages. I could just put the links in a few. Let me just finish. Then we have Anzisha. Anzisha is a prize competition, right? It's an award for young entrepreneurs between 15 and 22. The award seeks to celebrate young African entrepreneurs who have developed and implemented solutions to social challenges or started successful businesses within their communities. So normally 15 finalists are chosen for an all-expense paid trip to South Africa, which is to the main campus in Johannesburg, where they undergo an entrepreneurial leadership training and compete for a prize worth $100,000 USD. So that is quite an amount of money to get to really get your business going and take it to the next level. So I'd just like to highlight this is a prize for people who already started businesses. Applications for this year are currently closed. It normally happens at the end of the year. For example, if you'd like to apply for 2023, you needed to have applied for it in 2022. So just keeping an eye open for this. I'll also share the link for this. It's just an opportunity. If you have a running business that potentially solves a social issue in your community, this is a great opportunity for you to get funding. The first runners up, second runners up, still also get an amount. Like this was an image from a group of people from Ghana who got first runners up and were able to get this prize. So yeah, this is a nutshell about Anzisha. I'll also share the website link if you need more information about it. But definitely a good opportunity if you need funding for your first project. Thank you, everyone. This is now the floor I will open for any questions, any clarifications, and just 1 second for me to share the links that I need to share. But yeah, feel free to unmute and ask any questions if you have any.
Oh, thanks so much, Amy, for that really wonderful, engaging, and interactive presentation. I was also able to go through the groups, and I was really happy that I got to hear some of the discussions that were going on. And it's really amazing, guys. And as we said, this phase won't really be tackling much. I think we now know the problem. We know about the AMR and in details from the intensive sessions that we had in phase one. This phase is just for capacitating us and getting to get these soft skills and having our roots and being very well anchored in terms of project management, entrepreneur skills, and also how we can come up with feasible, innovative solutions. So thanks so much, Amy. I appreciate, as we always do, guys. If you have a question, just feel free to raise your hand or share in the chat. Then I think we'll address it from there. And as you heard, I knew about African Leadership Academy a while back because I have friends who managed to go through to the university that is in South Africa, in the academy, and also have friends who managed to go to the university that is located in Mauritius. I remember we were discussing with Mary about that and Rwanda, and these people have really done a lot of innovative work. They've really come up with very impactful solutions. And those from us in Kenya might know of Shamiri. Shamiri is an organization that kind of tries to create mental health solutions for young people, and they're really doing quite some very good work in Kenya. And we might not be between the age of 15 to 18, so we might not be able to apply to the academy, but I believe we have siblings, we have friends who are this age. So please feel free to tell them to apply, and there are scholarships, as Amy shared, and they can get there and they really be able to go through this great learning. And also for those of us below 22, and also if you can also partner with a person who is younger than 22 and apply for the Anzusha Prize. And it's not just about the funding, but also getting to have that community. I also believe, as we ourselves, we are young African leaders in ourselves, because each one of you here is really very proactive and very charged in terms of coming up with solutions for our continent. So thanks so much, everyone. I hope we've been able to have some key takeaways. Let's utilize that as we develop our simulative project. And Amy also shared a bit about pitching. We'll be having pitching, as we had said, towards the end of this phase to the expert panel, which will consist of a simulation of donors and also investors too. So thanks so much. And yeah, I think I'll hand it over to Amy. I don't see any question. I think people are a bit overwhelmed and really fascinated by the information for now. So thank you so much, and over to you, and thank you for really taking us through.
No, yeah, thank you so much, Daniel. It's also an amazing opportunity for me to just share this. Just have this opportunity to share the information about Build. I really enjoy doing this process over and over again. It's a model that I've really incorporated in my life, and definitely see myself using it for any business I'd like to start in the near future. As Daniel also said, this is also an opportunity to network. So even for the Anzusha, for those that are under 22, it's more about the experience than it is also about the funding. And something I really like about such sessions is you really get to hear a lot from different people across the continent, and you get to learn a lot more from people. So it has been an honor, and I'm very, very grateful that you guys have also engaged with me. Yeah, I wish you all well with your business idea. I hope a good few ideas could come up from this, and you could all incorporate, build in your entrepreneurial journey. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Amy. Maybe I can also see a request, maybe for you to share your LinkedIn link. People would also love to connect with you. So maybe you can also drop your LinkedIn link in the chat as we wind up. Yes.
Okay.
And also a question also to about your business and how it's faring.
Yeah, so the business that I did start was actually a business that I founded with a few of my friends who were passionate in sports. So something I didn't talk about is, yes, I am very passionate about sports and look into impacting the field of women in sports. I was able to start a business named Riada, where we were able to plan for more sporting events for students between the ages of 15 to 19. And this is a project that we did in South Africa. We planned external events and internal events to just give more youth an opportunity to really showcase their talent, and to also we had a very unique focus on women in sports as well. As we all know, football is the most popular sport on the continent. So it was very much easier to see and have like men engaging in football. But then there was a gap between female sports and women's sports. So we really made a conscious effort to see what really is the problem in addressing the need for women in sports, and we're able to plan external events through with different South African schools and with ALA. So that was around the business I did. I'm currently not in South Africa. I'm actually based in Nairobi, Kenya. So a few of my friends, we also came from different countries, and once we left ALA, we did sell the business. So that is something we left to people at ALA, but that is a little bit about the business that came up with and successfully sold. Yeah, if there are any other questions, kindly feel free to unmute.
Thank you so much, Amy. That's really inspirational and that's really great. Yeah. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. As you've seen, there's really a lot of potential. As they usually say, I think the main thing is not even to get funding, or it's just to have the skills. I think when you have the skills, when you know how to identify your problem, when you know how to position your idea, then you get all the support, because people love supporting ideas that are clear, that they really understand that you really have the capacity, and you know what you're doing, you know what outcome you're looking at, what impact you hope to render to the society, and you have the right support base and partners. Yeah. And with that, I think we really can get a lot of support. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for joining in to the session. I do appreciate. Thank you to Anastasia for the co-coordination. And yeah, we can connect with Amy via LinkedIn. She has just shared her chat. And with that, I wish us all a wonderful evening. And thank you so much for staying put till last minute. And we'll be in touch. Thank you. Thank you so much, Amy. And I think we'll invite you for another session. People are so happy. Yeah.
I hope so. Thank you so much, everyone. And thank you for the comments. I've read all of them. I really appreciate to just get this feedback. Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Bye-bye, everyone. And let's have a wonderful